I'm David Charvet with Charvet Classic Cars. We're in the showroom today with a 1935 Packard 12 Convertible Victoria. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and then go for a drive. You know, Packard produced their first V12 in 1915, and that was really what they called the Twin Six. It was a response to Cadillac, who had come out with a V8 for the first time in 1914. But Packard's engineer, Jesse Vincent, decided to make a 12-cylinder engine to be the top of the heap, so to speak, at that time. Well, they produced their initial Twin Six until 1923, when Packard at that time switched to their legendary flathead straight 8. And that really powered most Packards until 1954 in various versions. But Cadillac, again, wanted to be top of the line, and in 1930 they introduced their V16. So Packard, of course, had to respond. Now this, of course, is the dark days of the Great Depression, but most of these cars had been planned prior to the stock market crash in 1929, and they were somewhat too deep into it to be able to just stop production and throw away all the tooling and all the research that they had done to create the new cars. So Packard in 1932, as their response to Cadillac's V16, developed a new Twin Six. It was initially called the Twin Six in 1932 and then just simply became known as the Packard 12. And that is what this car is. This is the final incarnation of the Packard 12. These were made from 1932 until 1939, the second series of 12, so to speak. And this in 1935 is really the final refined iteration of that motor. It's 473 cubic inches. It creates 175 horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but at the time it was certainly a powerhouse. And of course, with the low-end torque that the 12-cylinder engine has, it was really king of the road at the time. This particular car was sold on December 24th of 1934. What a Christmas gift this would have been for someone. We don't know who the original owner is. It was sold in Columbus, Ohio by the Columbus Packard dealership. But whoever got it certainly got one of the greatest body styles that you can have for a Packard 12, the convertible Victoria. It's an era when rumble seats were going away and people wanted a more enclosed, more refined driving experience and riding experience, particularly in a Packard 12. So in this case, you have a 4-position car, 4-seat car, but the rear seat passengers in this coupe, 2-door coupe configuration, actually sit within the main driving compartment. They're not exposed in the back on a rumble seat. And when you see the top up, you can see it's a nice, snug, enclosed area for the rear seat passengers. And this being Packard's ultimate car, they spared no expense in making this really a wonderful automobile. And we'll take a look around now. This really is a fantastic car, and when you sit in it, you can feel the quality. Just looking at it is enough, but when you actually sit in it, you can really tell that the engineers at Packard and the designers and the people who built these cars knew what they were doing. The doors, for example, they close. The old adage, like a bank vault, it really is true. It really is a solid car, and the restoration of this car, which was done over about a 10-year period, nothing was left undone, nothing on this car, and which is why it took 10 years to do. The body is spot on, the fit and finish is equal to what it must have been when it came from the Packard factory. Everything works on this car, which is really nice. The garnish moldings, all of this trim is genuine wood, unlike other lower priced cars which were metal that was painted. This is real wood, and again, it was beautifully refinished and beautifully done during the restoration. All of the emblems are nice, the gauges all work, and it really is just a fine, fine automobile in every respect. And it is no wonder it was Packard's top of the line during the day. So, to give you an idea of the instrumentation, if we read this from left to right, you'll see we have the gas gauge, and below that is the temperature gauge. Next to that is your speedometer. This car has a radio, and I will tell you that the radio antenna is not hooked up. The radio does work, but this has never had the antenna hooked up. The clock is next to it, and then you have your amp gauge and your oil pressure gauge. So the instrumentation is very simple, but it's very complete. It's everything you'd ever need to know. Below you have switches individually for the windshield wipers on each side. It's one for the driver and a switch on the right for the passenger. And the starter button next to that, the key switch, and the cigarette lighter. The handle down below underneath the dash operates the cowl vent, which opens up and gives you air coming in if you have the car closed. And it again seals well. Over to the far left, just of the steering column, you have 2 controls. You have your ride control, which you can adjust the shock absorbers on the car. If you wanted a softer ride or a firmer ride, you can adjust that by pulling it out or pushing that back in. Next to that, to the left, is a switch for the driving lights, the fog lights that are out in front. The 2 switches on the steering column, or the steering wheel, you have a throttle control here on the right, which allows you to set your idle without putting your foot on the accelerator pedal. And you also have your lights out front. First position is the cowl lights, parking lights. Second position is low beam, and third position is high beam. Very simple. Again, everything is in a nice, neat package. The steering wheel is also beautiful. The crest and everything about this car, again, was really beautifully done in the restoration. Well, let's go for a drive. It fires right off, and it always does. Since restoration, this car has been driven about 12,000 miles by a longtime Classic Car Club member and enthusiast. The trips included a round trip a couple of times from Seattle to Pebble Beach for the Pebble Beach Concours. It was part of a tour put together by the folks up at the Pacific Northwest region of the Classic Car Club. So it has certainly been driven, but always taken care of. It has excellent power on the highway, as you would expect from a car with 473 cubic inches. It also has high-speed gears, so it's very comfortable on the highway. It's been said that you can drive these cars in high gear from a standstill, and yes, you can. And I think maybe a lot of little old ladies did back in the day. But this car shifts extremely well. It runs really well. It just tracks down the road. Again, it's everything you would expect a Packard 12 to do. We're 15 miles an hour in high gear. We're just going to step on it. Away it goes. This car runs cool. It's in the mid-80s today outside, and this car is running right at about 175 degrees, which again, with a 473 cubic inch engine, it's done right. I don't think I mentioned that this is the last engine that was rebuilt by Charlie Last. And Charlie Last was the king of the Packard 12 engine rebuilders. He knew exactly what he was doing, and anybody who wanted a 12 done right, you took it to Charlie Last. He's since passed away, but I'm told again this was the last engine that he did before he passed away. So if you have any questions about this Packard or any of the other cars that we represent, feel free to give me a call at 503-309-7729 or find us online at charvetclassiccars.com. I'm David Charvet. Thanks for watching.